Well, good evening everyone and welcome back to Adam's Fishing. It's a rather gloomy evening. It is just going to be a short evening session, as mine often are today. I'm down the big lake on my club water and I'm only here for sort of 4 or 5 hours, and then I have to get back home because it's a work night, and I've got work again early tomorrow morning. But yeah, I really fancied coming out and giving it a go this evening. My wife and the girls are visiting family, so I had the house to myself, and there's no way I was just going to sit there and watch telly when I had a chance of coming fishing. So let's get the gear unpacked and see if we can't catch one. Okay guys, well this is the swim. I'm right next to the car park. That's as much for convenience as anything else, if I'm being really honest. I have caught fish out of this swim plenty of times in the past, so it's got good form for me. But really, I'm racing the light, as I often am on these short sessions, and I just need to get set up. There's stuff everywhere as I've unloaded the car and just dumped it all on the ground here. I need to do a bit of tidying up, but before I do, let's get some rods sorted and cast out. I know that out here there's a large bed of lilies off to my left and off to my right, with kind of a channel through the middle, which will allow me a clear run right to the other side of the lake if I want it. I have caught fish from right up against that far margin before, but equally I've caught fish off of the edge of these pads as well, so either or is inviting for me, to be honest. I've got some old solid PVA bags. When I say old, I mean I actually tied them up probably 3 months ago or something like that, so I don't know if they're still any good, to be honest. I mean, short of tearing one apart and inspecting the hook bait, I don't really know. They have been in a sealed bucket, so they should be okay, but that's what I'm going to be trying. I think on both rods initially is a solid PVA bag. I've only got 5 PVA bags ready tied to use, so I won't have a lot of casts, but yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, a solid PVA bag on both rods. Perhaps one up to the edge of the lily pads and one across to the far margin where I know there to be a clay bar, which is quite good to fish to. I've had some success before, and I know other members have told me they have too. So I'm starting to formulate a plan, but I've been talking for way too long already. Let's get my rod pod set up and get some rods sorted. Quite reassuring that I've just heard a fish crash out down to my right hand side. It's not in my swim, it's perhaps 1 or 2 swims down, but it's not that far away, so fingers crossed. In here I've got my rod pod, bit of kit that I haven't used a lot lately actually, as I've been using bank sticks, but here it's just what the doctor ordered. What I've done as well to try and sorry, I just heard something in the bushes there. Just a bird, I think. What I've done as well to try and make life slightly easier for me in setting this up, as I've had trouble in the past, I've marked with some electrical tape the exact position that each element needs to be in order for the pod to be the right size and shape to accept my buzz bars. It's a bit of a palaver, this one, but hopefully these little markings that I've made on here will just make life a little bit easier for me. Let's see, I won't make you watch this whole thing because I'm all fingers and thumbs. I'm going to get this set up and then I'll pop it in the swim. Well, I've got to say that thanks to my preparations with the blue electrical tape to mark where these things needed to be extended to, putting this pod together was much quicker. Well, I've already had a change of heart. As I had one of my rods already tackled up with anti-tangle tubing and lead clip, etc, etc, I'm actually going to keep that one as it is, and I'm just going to use one of my normal snowman rigs on that, and that's the one I'm going to be pigging across towards the far bank. The one which is going off the edge of the pads is going to be on a solid PVA bag. So what I'm going to do now with this rod, which has got no gubbins tied on the end of the main line at all yet, is just tie in a figure 8 loop knot, which I'll be using to loop on my PVA bags, which I've already tied at home. Well, that's my first challenge completed. I've managed to tie a loop. Nice neat looking knot. Just trim off the tag end. Just about ready to loop on a lead first, I think, get my distance right, and then I'll pop a solid bag on and cast it out to the edge of those pads. Got a bit of a stiff breeze blowing across the lakes, which is making casting a little bit more tricky than usual. But I think I've got my distance just about right for that one, just off of the edge of the set of pads, which are starting to die back now. I'm going to use some marker elastic so that I remember, if you like, that distance. Then I can actually get a solid PVA bag on, at least that rod will be fishing. So in my bait bucket here I've got these old PVA bags. There's an example of one. I don't see any reason why there should be anything wrong with it after a couple or a few months. My only concern really would be that the bottom, it's a snowman presentation in there, my concern would be that the bottom bait element of that might have dried out an awful lot and perhaps will come off of the hair, but I won't know until I try, so I'm going to cast this one out. I'm often my own worst critic when it comes to casting, but that one went okay, I think. I'm quite happy to leave that where it landed and just hope that a hungry carp comes along to gobble it all up, hook bait and all. My next rig, as I said, not what I initially planned, which was going to be both rods on solid PVA bags. This time it's on a lead clip system. I'm actually going to clip on a lead, and same as I did with the first rod, I'm just going to cast out and get my distance right for where I'm going to be fishing. This one I'm going to be wanging across to the far bank, probably about a rod length and a half from the bank itself. There's a clay bar that runs pretty much the length of the lake apparently, and actually you can feel it if you get it just right. You can feel it sort of glide across the lead, glide across it when you pull back. So I'm going to try and get to that. Then get another rig clipped on here, this time one of my snowman rigs, and cast that out as well. Just a little 2.5 ounce pear lead for those who are interested. That's what I tend to always use. I have got some other styles and shapes, but I'm sort of a creature of habit. Just moisten that tail rubber before I slip it down, and then give this a couple of casts, get my distance sorted. Alright, I think I've got it. Get some marker elastic on that one, get a rig on it, and then I can have 2 rods fishing. So rig for rod number 2, sorry. In my rig wallet here, going to be one of these fellas, one of my classic snowman rigs. They're probably about 8 inches long, I would say. And I'll just take one out to show you. Anyone who's watched before, I'm sure will have seen this before, because as I say, I am a bit of a creature of habit. What we have is some coated braid, in this case some Corda end trap semi-stiff. This end I've got a anti-tangle sleeve, and there's just an overhand loop knot there, which is going to attach to the quick change lead clip that I have. This is coated braid all the way through until about half a centimetre, maybe a centimetre before the hook itself. The hook is a Nash Fang X size 7 micro barbed in this case, and then a longish hair to accommodate a snowman bait, which consists of a 15mm bottom bait and a 12mm pop-up, and they just fit on there quite nicely. So that's the rig of choice. What I also do is I slide down a little mesh PVA bag to mask the hook point, so that hopefully it won't tangle on the cast and it won't foul on anything on the way down through the water column. I'm just going to bait this up now and then cast it out. Okay guys, just going to show you how I do this. What I've got here is a 15mm Candy Nut Crush bottom bait, which is my bottom bait of choice for today. I've got a rig in my hand. I'm just going to thread that down the hair. Just pop that to one side for a sec while I take one of these, which is a Manila flavoured 12mm pop-up. And I find that the balance of the two just makes for a nice, reasonably slow sinking bottom bait. Lastly, take a little hair stop, that down, and there's the finished article, except for a little solid PVA bag, which is going to come down, just nestle over the hook itself, which will dissolve of course once it reaches the lake bed, all being well. It's taken me a while, but that's 2 rods on the dance floor, as they say. I was just hoping for a nice relaxing one today. They both landed okay. I'm quite happy with the cast, so now it's time to, I think, put a brolly up because it's getting a bit miserable, hunker down and wait for that all important bite. How many times have I said it? Get your net set up first. Well, I forgot on this occasion. Luckily, just remembered, net's now ready, rods are fishing. Let's hope I have to put this net to use. shelter over my head at last. I've been at the lake for probably 45 minutes, and I'm finally in a position where I'm set up. I'm fishing properly on both rods, and I think probably what I'm going to do is just polt out 2 or 3 pouchfuls of boilie over each spot, and then just sit on my hands and hope that Lady Luck is on my side. Alright, I really feel like I'm fishing now. A little bit of bait out there. Didn't go mad with the boilies. It has cooled off a bit over the last week or so. Definitely feeling more wintry now. Apart from that one fish that I heard while I was first setting up, which crashed out a couple of swims down to my right hand side, I haven't really seen or heard anything, to be honest. But it doesn't mean they're not here. Feels just really good to be out on the bank again, to be honest. I know I say that pretty much every time I come, and every video I make I probably say the same thing, but it is true. It is just a magical time being sat on the bank of a lake as evening falls. It's just coming up to 4:30 PM, obviously, and it's already starting to get dark. So luckily I've brought a head torch with me, and I've also brought a nice flask of coffee to keep me going. Which is, I think, just there. Ooh. My goodness, wouldn't it be brilliant to catch one though? Oh, it's not easy this time of year, but hopefully by putting the effort in, I might just reap the rewards. Maybe if it's not this session, maybe on the next one, who knows? But I really hope it's on this session. Let's wait and see. So a little bit of interest. I've just seen a fish crash out over here, which is off to the left of my swim. It's a couple of swims down, but it's the sort of distance that I'm fishing with my left-hand rod across to the far bank there. Fish jumped out twice. It wasn't a big one. Probably, I don't know, I'd say probably less than 10 pounds, but still carp nonetheless. At the right sort of range, and down this sort of end of the lake as well. You can probably see there's a real breeze pushing in to this end of the lake, but it's not a cold breeze. It's actually quite comfortable, so hopefully rather than putting the fish off, it's going to push them down this end of the lake. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Great to see a fish, great to see a show. Gives you that little bit of confidence for the evening ahead. As I said at the beginning, I haven't got long. I've probably only got 4-5 hours if I push it, but that might just be long enough. Only takes a second to get a bite, they say. Okay guys, as you can see, it's pretty much dark now. Just to keep you in the picture, what I have done is, just before it was too dark to do it, I have brought in firstly my PVA bag rod, put on a fresh PVA bag and popped it back out right onto the same spot where I was fishing before. And the other rod, which is fished further across to the other side of the lake, I also brought in re-rigged, freshly glugged hook bait and pinged that right back out there as well, and that landed quite well too actually. I then just did 1 pouchful of boilies over each, set everything up before it got completely dark, and now I'm satisfied that they're both as I want them to be, with nice fresh baits on, Some nice attraction around those hook baits as well, with the contents of the solid PVA bag on one, of course, and the other one with the little mesh bag and all of that lovely gooey glug stuff on it as well. I think it was really my last chance to do it properly and be confident in those casts before complete darkness fell. So I don't intend to bring them in again. Really is time to wait and hope. But just as it's got dark, I have heard sounds of fish crashing out here and there. Not directly in front of me, but one just off to my right hand side and across towards the other bank where my left hand rod is fired out to. So there is a chance. Just really hope it happens between now and when I have to pack up. I'm going to kick back, have another cup of coffee, just enjoy the silence, I think. Well guys, my nerves are shot. Look at my hand shaking there. Just had a blistering take on the right hand rod, the solid PVA bag up to the pads. It just melted off, and I got to the rod pretty quickly and connected with the fish, and I felt the fish pull through the pads, sort of like a grating sensation, but it did come out and probably had connection with the fish for, I don't know, 10 seconds, and then the hook came out. I don't know what happened, I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't a particularly good hook hold in the first place. The thing is, as they always do, it felt like a heavy fish. I'm absolutely kicking myself. I don't know if I could have done anything differently, to be honest. I think it's just bad luck, but yeah, still shaking, adrenaline pumping. I've managed to re-rig and recast that rod now back to pretty much exactly where it was. All I can do is pray that that wasn't my only chance tonight. It is just coming up to 20 past 6, so there is time. I just hope I get another chance. Whew, certainly got my heart racing. Well, I'm afraid it really is the tale of the one that got away today. That was my one and only chance. I've hung it out for as long as I possibly can at the lake, and I really need to get myself home, but I'm really kicking myself about that lost fish. And of course, in my head now, it was definitely a 20-pounder, wasn't it? And it just came off. I don't know, maybe I should have played the fish a bit harder in that very first phase of the battle to get it away from those lilies. Or maybe it was just bad luck and that fish just wasn't hooked very well and was going to come off. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to drown my sorrows with a, I don't know if you can see it in the background there, it's a 24-hour McDonald's. I'm going to get myself a burger and a Diet Coke, and as I say, drown my sorrows quickly, and then get myself back off home and off to bed. Let's hope next time I have a bit more success. Well guys, I'm back. It's been a bit of a delay between that first session and this session, but I'm back on the same lake, the same swim, pretty much the same tactics. Only major difference here is that, as you can see on the pod there, I've got 3 rods today because we're now at the bitter end of November, and 3 rods are allowed because the fishing gets a bit harder, the banks get a little bit clearer, and the club allows it, which is great. I must say it is rather parky. I am cold, cold, cold. You might even be able to see my breath. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. You wouldn't normally call this a twilight session as such, but it's getting dark about 4 o'clock these days, so actually it kind of is. I've been here for about 45 minutes, set up all 3 rods. The right hand rod is fishing a solid PVA bag up against where those dying pads are or were, and the one which I got the bite from on my last session here. So I've flicked out, same again, a solid PVA bag to pretty much the same spot, hoping that I get another chance to redeem myself with a take on that one. The middle one I've pinged right across towards the far bank, probably a rod length or rod length and a half from the bank. Fired some boilies out over the top of that one as well, and that one's on a snowman rig with a little mesh bag as usual, just threaded down to cover the hook point on the hook link material there. The left hand side is another snowman rig, exactly the same setup, but this time flicked off to my left hand side to the other set of dying lilies in this swim. I think I've fished this swim a fair few times, and I think I've tried this before, and I don't think I've ever had any success on the left hand rod. So maybe I should be trying something different. But as it happens, it just spread things out nicely, and just meant I won't be likely to cast over my own lines because they're spread out a little bit. And I've sort of hedged my bets. I've not got all my eggs in one basket, so hopefully I'll get an opportunity. As I say, it is cold, so I'm not incredibly optimistic, but I'm here, and you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you? So fingers crossed. Let's hope I can show you a fish this time. Well guys, I've certainly had to wait for it, but eventually my perseverance has paid off. It's the middle of the night, pitch black, freezing cold. That temperature has really dipped, and I was really just getting to the stage where I was thinking there's no chance. And then the right hand rod out to that dying patch of lily pads, ripped off. This was on the solid PVA bag. And this little mirror carp is my reward. Now, it's certainly not the biggest fish in the lake, don't get me wrong. In fact, it's one of the smaller ones, probably only 6 or 7 pounds. Still very lively, but to save the blank and to actually get a fish on the mat is absolutely magic. What a fin perfect, beautiful little mirror carp. I'm really chuffed with that. I know it's not a big one, but that'll do me nicely. I have got to get packed up and get home. It's late, I'm really tired, it's freezing, and I've got an early start tomorrow. But there we go. Absolutely fantastic. If you watch this all the way through, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you joining me, and hopefully I'll see you again really soon.